Okay, welcome to Pat's Cast, the unofficial Regina Pats podcast. We are a proud member of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. I'm Matt.
I'm Chris.
I'm Steve.
I'm Kevin.
And this is our episode for October 6, 2019. Hi everyone, Matt here. Bit of a different episode this week. After a tough weekend, it might be a good thing. Normal Pat stuff goes till about that 19:30 mark, so if that's all you want, you can end there. Otherwise, if you're into it, we had a lot of fun talking to Steve and Kevin from Ontario. They were out here doing a small tour of Saskatchewan WHL rinks. It's long, but it was a lot of fun to talk to them, and I think you'll enjoy it. If you're just wanting to listen to that portion, again, you can skip to that 19:30 mark. Okay, we got a couple extra people in the quote-unquote studio tonight. Why don't you guys just give a little intro to who you are and what you're doing, and then we'll get into our Pats games, but we'll keep it brief this week because I think you guys got some good stories.
I'm Kevin Jordan. I'm from London, Ontario. I'm a Knights fan. I have been to every rink in the OHL. I've been to most of the Quebec League. This was my first ever weekend experiencing the Western Hockey League, so I'm happy to be here. Happy with the hospitality we've experienced out west in Saskatchewan this week, and happy to have done it with Steve here.
Yeah, and I'm Steve. I've appeared on your show once before, but
a couple times.
Yeah.
Like Kevin, I've done all 20 in the OHL. I've done a handful in the Q, and now I'm up to 8 in the WHL, and love coming, doing road trips and doing some new ones.
Good. So we'll get to your guys' experience in Saskatchewan. You did a little tour here. Let's knock off these Pats games.
That was rough.
I don't even. This is disappointing. I'm not going to lie. We're usually pretty positive on this podcast, and Game 4 against Medicine Hat, you guys were in Swift Current for your little tour there. I was at that game. Medicine Hat's a fast team. Really fast.
What it sounded like,
we there was one point your girlfriend leaned over and said, "Are we that bad or are they that good?" And they were just that much better than us that day. It was I don't know if you got a chance to see the replay.
I didn't see anything. Nothing.
Well, there's not much to see.
Yeah.
Even if you did see it. It was, we got out to the first goal was kind of, I would say fluky. It was probably shouldn't have gone in, of ours that is. And then, it was 2-2 after first, and from then on it was.
Seems like we have no gas in the second half still, right? Like, we had how many tie games going into the third, and we've blown leads or blown ties and haven't been able to respond, and then these other two games where we just haven't. The PA game we didn't even show up.
I don't even think it's worth talking about every game individually because they're that sad. We can look at it.
Let's put it this way. I've now seen the Pats play twice, and maybe the third time I see them play, they'll get to score a goal.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? So essentially, we're scoreless in 8 periods.
Okay.
Scoreless in 8. We have been outshot 101-56, outscored 15-2. We have we're 0 for 13 in the power play and given up 17 power plays.
And the power plays look terrible. Like
terrible.
Absolutely terrible.
I mean, stats can make anything look bad, but
right.
Just compounding.
We had 13 shots against PA, 5 in the first, 6 in the second, 2 in the third period.
I don't know about that.
And then in the first, well, I guess it's the stats keywords too.
Yeah.
And then in the first period in Moose Jaw, we had one shot.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a grand total for 2 periods. You had 3 shots going over 2 games.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
like.
I mean, even if the shot clock wasn't exactly accurate, that's still not good.
It's not like it was 2 more was going to make much of a difference, right?
No. And I know one of the shots they actually counted was like a dump in from center that just happened to hit the net in the third period last night. So
there you go. Yeah, no, I mean, we're dumping it in. We can't retrieve it. We got nothing on the power play. Our entries suck. Like we've been rolling 5 forwards in PA and in Moose Jaw, and they still can't get anything going. I couldn't even get set up. Like I know there's been a lot of hate on on Twitter and Facebook.
There have been, yeah. So the Medicine Hat game I saw, and sometimes it's a little different when you're watching in person. I got to give it to them. They didn't look like they weren't trying. Like Medicine Hat, they were still giving it at least. And I'm not going to pretend to be a hockey coach. I don't know
I'll say this as a neutral fan. Like there was a pushback this afternoon in Moose Jaw in the third period.
Yeah.
Like there was a little while there where the three of us thought, you know what, if they can just get one here, like they can be in this. And in the second half of that game, I don't want to say outplayed Moose Jaw, but they seemed like the better team for a stretch. Moose Jaw kind of sat back, but they were kind of there, and they had a post. They hit the post once this afternoon. It was just one of those, nothing could seem to go right for them when they were playing well.
So is it the systems, or is it coaching? Is it what?
Everybody wants to blame the coach by the sounds of it, but I mean, like, we don't have the most skill. Like, it just.
But it's the older guys too making mistakes. Like,
I know.
Walker, usually a guy we're really high on, made some brutal passes in that Medicine Hat game.
Okay.
Feist was
Feist
screwing up.
Good. Didn't look good in Moose Jaw game.
Well, you know who the best expert to have on your podcast is a bunch of guys from out east who've never seen the Pats play before this weekend.
I mean, as neutral fans, we both agreed that the Pats were getting screwed on some calls today.
Yeah, like I try hard not to complain about officiating because like it's a fool's game, but as a neutral you can sometimes have a better appreciation for when a team's getting screwed, and like the Pats definitely weren't getting the calls in Moose Jaw today.
The reffing wasn't going our way, but the lines were going our way because there was clearly two icings that were icing.
And an offside.
And an offside. No, that was for...
Oh, that was for Moose Jaw, right.
Yeah. That was we were sitting right on the blue line, and it was clearly offside, and they're like, oh, and we're like...
Well, the first goal Moose Jaw scored.
Oh, okay.
And
so
I saw it, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I thought he had his stick between the legs.
But, okay...
Then the replay was like, okay.
No, then we watched the replay again after the game. We sat down for supper. We watched the replay. It was a clear cross-check.
Clearly cross-checking that he should have never even been given the chance to take that shot.
So neutral here says it wasn't a good...
Okay.
So...
And also, like, I'm usually fair. It was a breakaway, but I think Paddock should have had that one. And the second one.
And the second one squeezed between his arm. But he had a piece of it, but he didn't have enough. And Paddock has to be our best player because nobody else is stepping up.
And he stopped the bleeding last night in PA. Like, that could have been a way worse score than it was. And he came in and made some good saves.
He only let up one.
Yeah. He let in one, and that one I didn't think was too good either. But
it was a breakaway, though. But
yeah, it was a breakaway. He left the whole top corner open.
Yeah.
But my point is he definitely made that closer game than it should have been.
I know they hit 3 posts, and I just kept saying, oh, well, he's covering the net. That's all he needs to cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
part of the equipment, right?
I mean, I was disappointed in the Pierce getting his leg taken off behind the net right at the end of the second period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a dangerous play. That's where injuries happen, and they didn't do anything at it. But it's Biblo. That's not a surprise. He was 10 feet away, and he didn't make a call.
Yeah.
Like, he is... Then we had Christian PA. I mean, he was okay, but, it wasn't... I mean, we know they're the two terrible refs, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, that one behind the net. And then the Cole hit, I didn't really get a good replay of that, but he had his... He's already the shortest guy on the ice, and then he's kind of got his...
He was bent over,
right? And so that's just a dangerous... I don't know if...
I saw one. Yeah, I saw one replay, and it looked like it might have been the shoulder, but I want to see it again.
Yeah, it was pretty iffy hit to begin with, right? But nice to see Johnson step up, a 16-year-old guy, and just jump in and do what needs to be done because the refs weren't controlling the game.
Anything else? I'm disappointed this year. Like honestly, this year, like last year, fine. We're gonna lose a bunch of games. This year,
but we didn't look this bad last year.
We look bad, right? We look
yes.
Nothing like things are not working.
No.
And we're not one usually we're not really negative here.
No.
But
we're usually
things are not looking good. And I mean you're 1-6. I know it's still early, but
we kind of had a feeling this would happen.
Going into the weekend. Yeah. Yeah.
We're like, it's going to be tough to get a win this weekend.
Yeah. And here we are, 1-6, and what needs to change?
I don't know.
How long do you got?
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it even feasible? Like, is this season?
We were talking in the car on the way here about the podcast could just basically wind up being one sentence. Like, it was a shitty weekend, and that's our show for this weekend. Folks, you know?
Tune in next week.
Yeah. I don't know
Good
what else
thing we
to
have
say.
something else to talk about this weekend, or this show.
Really? I'm glad we do, because
Yeah.
let's...
Because that would be the end of the show right there.
Yeah, let's... I'm done. I'm not a band. I'm not going to jump off the wagon. We're not going to finish the... We're not going to not do this anymore, but...
Yeah, it's just a little disappointing.
That was disappointing.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to actually hear some interviews after. It's too bad you weren't.
I could have got credentials in PA if I wanted, but I mean, who really wants to go listen to that?
Moose Jaw.
Tonight would have been interesting to
Yeah.
hear what was said.
Yeah.
Did you listen to the post game?
No.
Well,
wasn't,
they always interview a coach on the post game, right? So hair
Yeah,
off or mundane.
yeah.
Considering how that first period went today, though, I think 3-0 is not that bad. Like,
like
it looked like it was going to be another one of those, like, oh, this could be a 6-0 game again. But I mean, like I mentioned, you guys, you didn't quit in the third. I'll say that.
And I mean, we only had one shot in the first period, but we had zone time. We just couldn't put together any decent scoring chances. Like, I bet you the play was close to 50-50 in the first period, despite one shot.
Well, possession's always great, but you need to do something with it.
No, yeah,
to
I know
convert,
exactly,
obviously.
right? And it's
Yeah.
just nothing's working.
No. And they looked like a team that's nothing working. Like, they looked snake bit. They looked like a whole bunch of people who don't think that the shot they're going to take is going to go in right before they take it, right?
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, even though they did play well in the third today, they really didn't get, again, they still didn't get any dangerous scoring chances in that time. So they had the possession, and they had pressure in the third period, a lot more pressure than they had in the first. But again, those grade A scoring chances never really came. That, again, the two goalies these last two nights, those are a couple of the easiest shutouts they'll ever get.
Yeah.
I'm just getting my trivia up here.
Oh, no, we got one.
Do you got it?
Yeah, you said figure one out. So
You got a good one?
Since the tournament format was created in 1983,
Mm-hmm.
only one team has won the Memorial Cup without being a league champion or a host. Who is it?
Does money spark joy in your life or cause you stress?
Well, if I got some, it sparks joy, yeah.
A little. If you have it, it's joyful.
Yeah,
But
if you don't.
if you said stress, you're not alone. For 42% of Canadians, the biggest stressor comes from money. Mine today was fantasy football and the Seahawks, but pulled out both of those, so I guess I'm back down to money. So at Connexus, they care about your financial well-being. Money doesn't have to be stressful, and Connexus is here to help. The Connexus Money Talk blog provides expert advice, tips, and solutions for all life's stages and events. Getting married, buying a house, budgeting, saving, they'll cover it all. Did I mention it's free? Not getting married. That is not free.
No, not at all. I'm looking at that soon.
It is not cheap. Yeah. You can do it okay, though. Anyways, check it out at connexusmoneytalk.ca and start feeling confident and stress-free about your money.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
Okay. So it's someone that got in because... No, it would be someone that got in because the host was the winner
Correct.
of the league.
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Okay. So that's the only way it can happen.
I'll give you a hint. It's post.
Oh, I'm the only one that doesn't know?
Well, I don't know if Kevin knows it.
Well, we were talking about it in the car, so
Yeah,
you
so
kind
I
of
know
missed
it.
out a little bit here.
Sorry, Matt, we're asking you.
Yeah, he always hangs me out to dry, so it's his turn this time. Like, which team has retired a number from a different sport?
We heard about that
if I
question,
know.
and Chris told us about that this weekend. It was
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
And you know what? The Dan Marino one I actually got. Like, I can kind of see it, but the Michael Jordan one was like, huh? Like,
Really? Dan Marino was more logical than Jordan?
At least because it was in Miami, right? Like, I don't know.
I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, your other hint is it is more recent. It's not going back to like 1986 or something like that.
Post 2000.
Post 2000. Yeah.
I have no idea.
I asked the question so Kevin can answer it.
All right, so your answer is the 2006 Quebec Remparts, who have actually, in their current incantation, never won the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League Championship. So that year, Moncton was the Memorial Cup host, and they went in the front door as league champions. They beat Quebec in the final, so Quebec was the Q representative. And they came back, and Moncton actually had won the Quebec League title. Moncton won the round-robin game, but Quebec won the final. So they are the true backdoor champions of the CHL.
Wow.
And
That's pretty good.
I do believe that was Patrick Waugh's first year behind the bench for the Rempar.
Yes, it was.
I still I like mine too. I was pretty proud of it. I figured it out.
Oh.
So, as you guys may or may not know, Bob Ridley with the Medicine Hat Tigers. So this isn't the trivia question, but he's been doing this since 70-71. He's the play-by-play / bus driver.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still drives the bus.
No, he does not.
I would hope not. I would hope not.
Got to call a game like a 3 or 4 overtime game in the playoffs and then drive home.
Yeah. So he's been doing it
He
since
did before.
70-71. Some argument about whether he should hang up the mic or not, but
Get off on tangents sometimes, and
It's
kind of
worth-
his play.
if you get a chance, it's worth listening to one of his calls. Anyway, so it got me thinking about who's the longest tenured with one team play-by-play. So I'm sure there might be some in some minor leagues and stuff like that, but I only could really get data from the major leagues. So this one's kind of an interesting one. I'll give you the sport. It's in baseball.
I was thinking it was going to be baseball.
Okay, and it's kind of a unique one.
Is it somebody still active, or are they retired now?
I think he says he's still doing it. This article is from 2017.
It's Vin Scully.
Yeah.
It's not. So
Interesting.
it's kind of unique because I guess since we're not doing the T's here, it's actually the Spanish
Oh,
broadcaster for the Dodgers. And he started the year they moved over there, which was 1959. And it's Jamie Jaron. So since 1959, he's been doing the Spanish Dodgers call.
Interesting.
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
very impressive.
I looked up the longest for NHL, or at least for hockey NHL, is Rick Jernett.
Jernett, yeah.
With Buffalo. And then 45 years, Mike Lang with Pittsburgh has been doing it.
I know in London we had Pete James started with the Knights when the year they started in 1965, and he held on until well into the 2000s. I don't remember which year he retired, although I'm off the top of my head I'm going to say 2012, but I know it was a point of pride for him to get to 50 years. So yeah, something like that. But he was definitely a little long in the tooth by the time he retired. 80-year-old guy in the broadcast booth, wasn't necessarily going great, but he was still a legend at the time he retired.
Yeah, this is Medicine Hat's 50th year. So,
Yeah.
do you know how many games he's missed in those 50 years?
I don't know. I'm sure it's written somewhere, but not
One.
many.
One.
Many. One?
One.
What was his excuse for the one?
Yeah.
He got sent to Saskatoon to cover some curling event,
Oh, my
like
God.
way back, or it was either he sent or he had, I can't remember the exact story, or it was family playing in it in the final, like it was like the Scotties or whatever the final, and so yeah, he's missed that
Curling.
one game. Yeah, curling in Saskatoon.
Again, impressive. But is that like you said? Family was playing. Is this one like he involuntarily missed this game, or he was sent there?
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Ah.
We have to look it up after, but it was something to do with curling. I don't know if it was family or if he had to cover it, or somebody from Medicine Hat was in it, and so they sent him out to do it. But yeah, so
Interesting.
he's missed one game in those 50 years or 50th season.
Good on him.
Good. Yeah, well, that's the one I thought of. I was thinking of it. I tried to think of a team that we're playing and then something related to them, and
Yeah,
that's what
that's
came to
good.
my mind. So I don't have the schedule in front of me. We're not in our normal studio. I usually have the calendar right here. I can
Yeah.
look at it. I can say who we're playing. I know we got
Edmonton on Tuesday,
Edmonton
right?
on Tuesday, and then
So Vancouver Saturday night, that's gonna be
it's going to be rough.
And
Well,
then-
Tuesday's going to be rough.
yeah. Edmonton's looking good already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Vancouver's going to be rough.
and then Lethbridge. So,
Lethbridge.
I mean, that's winnable, but
Mm, yeah.
see how it goes.
The way we're playing right now,
Yeah, nothing's winnable.
yeah. No.
So
Not
Anyway.
not if you guys keep playing like it was this weekend.
Yeah.
Something's got to change.
yeah, for sure. But anyways, let's move on to the weekend.
Let's.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we got our guests here today. You gave a little bit of background on how many arenas you've been to. Give us an idea of your story, what you're doing, and why.
All right, I'll start because I guess Steve's been on your show before, so his story might be a little more familiar to you. But basically, I was posting on an OHL message board back around the turn of the millennium, and there was a really good community of people back then. And our old arena, the London Gardens, London Ice House, it was called then. I prefer calling it the Gardens now. Was closing, and the 2002-03 season, a bunch of people from the message board decided to get together and go to a road game. And we had a really good time. We went to Guelph for that first game, and it was just, I'd grown up going to the London Gardens. I grew up 5 minutes or so by car from there. So, I'd been going for my whole life, but it was really cool to get to experience a road game for the first time. And I was, I guess I would have been maybe 20 years old at that point. And so a whole bunch of us, there was, I think, 11 people who went to that first game, and just went on and started doing road games from there. And it kind of snowballed because back then the internet was still in its independent pre-corporate phase. There was not a lot of information. I like to tell the story that the Sudbury Wolves of the OHL's website was actually designed and built by a group of sixth graders. So it was literally at the bottom, and the copyright, it said designed by Mrs. McGillicuddy's sixth grade class in Sudbury.
Was it GeoCities?
Yeah, it looked like a GeoCities website, yeah. But back then, if you were going to a road game, you couldn't find things like ticket prices or directions to the barn or anything like that. There was no information out there. So I had learned how to do basic HTML programming when I was in high school, and I just thought, well, there's a use for this, and I would like to read this kind of website, so I'm going to make one. So I made OHLArenaGuide.com, launched in 2003, and it's still going. I mean, I haven't really been updating it a huge amount over the past, well, being honest, decade. Yeah, because once you've been everywhere, there's not really anything to update. But I tried to make it so that I could. I went to all the former arenas as well, like places that the league had played and has now abandoned or moved on. Teams have moved, and anyway, I finished the OHL in 2005. 2006, I went out to Newfoundland. I was a fan of the St. John's Fog Devils when they existed, and started doing the Quebec League, and not quite done the Q, but I've sort of done the same thing. Launched QMJHL Arena Guide in, I think it was 2007 was when I started that. And I got out of junior hockey for a while, kind of got disillusioned with how corporate it was getting. And but I've kind of got back into it since meeting Steve several years ago. And last year we did a Quebec League road trip out to Baie-Comeau and Chicoutimi and Rimouski. And this year we wanted to go west with Chris offering to host us and be our guide for the weekend. It's been a good weekend.
Yeah, that's my addition to the program. Just saying, yeah, but no.
Steve did a podcast of his own for 5 years.
Yeah, and all he has to
there's a reason. There's a reason why it's not on anymore. We got burnt out. No,
we miss it though.
I had been going to OHL games. My first one was in 2001. Ironically, a team I would become to loathing, Mississauga, but. I grew up in Brampton and became a Brampton Battalion fan, and as many know, they have moved on to North Bay, Ontario, for greener pastures up there because we had nobody coming to the games. But I actually discovered Kevin's website, OHLArenaGuide.com, while sitting in grade 11 tech class in high school, and thought this is cool. And I'd been to a handful of OHL games at that point. I was just starting to. I think that was the year, or it was the year after, that London had their team of the century, won all those games in the Memorial Cup, and it was I just thought, man, I really want to do this. And it was the 07-08 season. I started kind of getting out there. I still didn't have a car, so I had to rely on other people, but I got to a few rinks that year, and I got my car in the summer of 2008, and then that 08-09 season, Brampton, it was the year they went to the finals, the only time they ever made it past the second round, and I went to 84 games that year and saw the entire league except for Ottawa. So I got the OHL done pretty quickly. And for the next several years, it was just kind of just redoing the OHL over and over until I started going to Memorial Cups. I did my first one in Saskatoon in 2013, and I haven't missed one since. There's been a couple that I haven't been to every game of, but for the most part, I've only missed a handful of Memorial Cup games in that time. So it was a couple of years ago where I started branching out a little bit more. A friend of mine had moved to Seattle for work, and he had been from Windsor, so he invited us out, and we went to a game in Seattle and Portland 2 years ago, and at that point I had already been to Saskatoon and Red Deer for Memorial Cups, and I'd already been to Quebec City, and then as Kevin mentioned, last year that he and I went to do Eastern Quebec, and this year we did this, and I'm sure we're going to have more in the future. He's only got 3 rinks left to do in the queue, and they're very doable. So I'd imagine that'll be on tap next year, maybe.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about Ontario and Quebec in terms of the way those leagues are is that the distances are a little shorter than the Western League. I mean, it's cool. Like in Saskatchewan here, you can go to any of the, if you're a Pats fan, you can do any of the local teams, plus probably Medicine Hat and Brandon, and still come back in a day. But Vancouver or Victoria is pretty inaccessible to you. But from where I live in London, the farthest away team is only about a 7-hour drive in Sault Ste. Marie. The Quebec League, the distances are a little more like Cape Breton to Rouyn-Noranda is probably 30 hours by bus, but it is a lot easier to do it out there. But now that we're flying, especially Steve works for one of our airlines here, and so we can fly cheap. And when you have accommodations paid for, it makes it a lot more reasonable.
Yeah, like Chris was a huge help, obviously, for this weekend. I wouldn't have been able to come to the Memorial Cup if not for him. In 2018, him and Amanda. I hadn't even met him in person, and he's like, "You can come out and stay." And I was like, "What does your girlfriend think about this?" And so, big shout out to Amanda as well for letting me stay, and Kevin this weekend.
Yeah, they believe that he wasn't a rapist, and he actually satisfied that by not raping anyone while he was there.
Can confirm.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, there's no warrants out.
And it's gotten to the point actually now where I've got 32 of the current 60 rinks in the CHL, and I know of the 28 that I still have to go, most of them are going to be pretty tough to get to. But at the same time, it'll take several years. But at the same time, I've kind of almost got that goal in mind. Like maybe I can do all 60 one day, and it would be pretty nice.
Absolutely.
Like we had the thought this weekend, has anybody who doesn't work in hockey somehow ever done this? And we probably think
there's not a chance.
Yeah, there's no chance. So I mean,
who's going to Prince George?
Yeah.
Bathurst.
Yeah. Scouts have done it.
Sue.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. But
those outliers.
Dave Branch probably has done it. But yeah, I've most of the radio guys are people who work for the teams have done their league, but how many of them have done another league?
No. Yeah. I can't.
I can't imagine.
Sean Mullen might have had a good chance between if he stayed in Peterborough.
Yeah.
He would have done the O and the dub.
Yeah.
But I mean that leaves the whole other league.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine anyone had.
And there might be guys like that already, because I know there have been broadcasters over the years that have switched leagues.
Yeah.
So there might be guys out there who have done
3 leagues.
All 3, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people that have done 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, probably.
I mean, obviously, the biggest obstacle to that is that most of the Quebec League is in Quebec.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are only so many opportunities out there for English-speaking broadcasters. I think, obviously,
Absolutely.
Cape Breton and
and
Prince
Cape
Edward
Breton.
Island are the only ones that are purely English out there. The other ones, you'd need to have somebody at least who is bilingual.
And we know in Cape Breton they'll just let anyone on the radio.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pat, if you're listening.
You were talking about the distances traveled, and it's funny, when you guys were doing this trip, someone a couple of years ago did a CHL distance traveled per team. So the Q had a really high, and then so Prince George was way up there.
Portland.
The Q had someone up quite high, and actually Regina was one of the lower in the WHL.
I think Portland was up there too, I believe. They have some.
Yeah.
It's just those outliers, right? Yeah, the ones on the edge.
But in the WHL, I guess it varies by year, right? Because in one
Yes.
year you're not going east or west, and vice versa, right? So
Yeah, so this year we're going to BC. We're going to the States this
Yeah.
year,
but not BC.
but not BC. BC
Yeah.
comes here.
Yeah.
So last year travel was better. I mean, it's still you're going to the coast.
yeah, it's still bad travel. Let's not kid ourselves. But,
Yeah,
but
I mean-
the exact stats, I'm sure,
Yeah.
slightly vary each year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, travel's exciting, right? If you're into it. I've driven from Ontario to Newfoundland. I've driven from Ontario to Vancouver before, and what really gets me about what these players do on a week in, week out basis is the fact that they're doing it every week, right? It's just got to be so unbelievably exhausting. I mean, yeah, you're only doing one ridiculous road trip every single year, but even then, how far is it from Regina to Winnipeg, right? I mean, 7 hours maybe.
But
That's a little shorter than that. It's
Yeah,
about
but
just under 600
Yeah.
kilometers.
Yeah. But I mean, we seen the bus, so we stopped off at the Brent Center on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday morning. It's all running together here. Saturday morning, and we seen the bus. They were loading up, and
Oh, yeah.
and we just stopped at the Brent Center. Then we took off. Like, we took a detour, stopped in Humboldt on the way to PA, checked out the rink there, and the memorial and the rink, and then we get to PA, and then we tooled around in PA, and then after that we seen the bus. They're loading up to go home, and it's another 4 and a half hours home.
And I think I had asked, I was like, are they going home and then to Moose Jaw? Which I guess, obviously, as soon as I asked the question, that is what makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it wouldn't have surprised me. It's like, why not just stay there or drive to, part way to Moose Jaw or something if you got to be there the next day anyway. But yeah, I guess for them, it's like, hey, it's the bus driver that has to be up, not them, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get the quick turnaround on the Sunday, the 4:00 game instead of a 7. But I mean, that's the life in the dub, right? Like 4 or 5 hours.
junior hockey period.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Everyone's doing it.
yeah. So it's the same for everybody.
Good. Not to put you on the spot, but how about some interesting stories from your travels?
You mean this weekend or in general?
No, in general. You got to have some pretty unique, interesting stories with all the...
Well, I mean, the worst story is coming back from Plymouth. The Plymouth Whalers were based in a Detroit suburb, and I grew up going to Detroit. I have family there, and I love the city of Detroit. Don't get me wrong; I wouldn't say a bad word about it, but it's nightmarishly scary and in places. And we were coming back from Detroit from a game in Plymouth in 2005, and I-96 was under construction and closed at that point. So we came back via. Not that this will mean anything to you guys, but Telegraph Road up to 8 Mile. And we were just going to take 8 Mile off to the Lodge Expressway, which is just sort of skirting the M&M part of the city.
Is that
yeah. Like, there are parts of 8 Mile that are in Grosse Pointe that are perfectly nice. But, so we're just driving down 8 Mile, and it's just starting to turn a little sketchier and a little sketchier and a little sketchier. And we can tell something's dying on the car. Like, it sounds like an alternator, which is what it actually turned out to be. So we did actually make it onto the Lodge Expressway, thank goodness, because we wound up dying about maybe half a kilometer onto the expressway as opposed to on the side of the road in the middle of the neighborhood. So we basically sat there. We called the tow truck and called the police, and nobody came because that's Detroit. And eventually, after a couple of hours, we just literally stood out on the side of an interstate highway and just flagged down a taxi. And it took us over the border into Windsor, which Windsor is a terrible place, but it's at least not dangerous. And so we got a hotel there, and then the next day my dad came down and picked us up and took us home. And so that's the worst thing that's happened on a trip. Other than that, there's not really been a whole lot of bad experiences, but it's been fun. And one of the best parts of the whole list is getting to see different parts of the country that you'd never get to see otherwise. Like, why else would I have ever gone to Prince Albert, Saskatchewan?
Exactly.
It was nice. I liked it. And nice
Great people.
Yeah, great people there. Nice arena, but there's no possibility that you'd ever go up there otherwise if you're from Southern Ontario.
Even Regina, for that extent.
Yeah, I'd never been to Regina before. It's my first trip here. It's a nice
Right.
town. Yeah.
And for someone who's driven across the country,
When we did the trip across the country, we got as far as Moose Jaw and then headed for the States. So we took I don't remember the number, but the road that goes down through Estevan and then cross there.
Are you saying Moose Jaw was so bad that you decided to turn south?
I'm not actually.
Oh, that's a couple years
After this
later.
weekend, you might have.
As far as like Kevin said, I think you remember the bad a little bit easier than the good, just because it sticks out. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's no real one best moment other than maybe watching my team win an OHL finals game, scoring 2 goals in the final 30 seconds to be down by 1 and then win the game was pretty amazing. But meeting all the fantastic people, I can't say that most cities, I would say, there's been someone awesome that you meet. And I've created connections in a lot of OHL cities, and now as we've seen, WHL cities and Q cities as well. So that would be the good, obviously. But my bad also has to do with the vehicle, and it's my own stupid fault, really. In 2014, I tried to drive. I wanted to do a bit of Guelph's northern swing to North Bay and Sudbury. North Bay is I was living in Brampton at the time, though. I was a Guelph Storm fan, and It's about a 3.5-hour drive up to North Bay, and it was the main highway going up there was closed for a 100-car pileup because we had severe, whiteout conditions and whatnot. And the secondary highway was also closed, but there was a third road, and I thought, well, I can do this. And I made it about 45 minutes. It was a deal where it was like, if I can make it the first hour, the weather clears up, and then I'll be fine the rest of the way. And I was about 45 minutes up when someone in a very bad whiteout crossed into my lane and hit me head on. And I, believe it or not, I was fine, but other than being really sore, but I did lose a car on that one, and the trip didn't happen. But it kind of saved me because while we won that night in North Bay, the next night in Sudbury, we blew a 5-0 lead and lost 6-5. So I was glad I wasn't there for that.
That's one way of looking at that, I guess.
But my poor car didn't deserve that.
So highlights on rinks. What's one of the best rinks?
Well, for me, I mean, the one I grew up with is pretty much always going to be most people's answers, unless maybe your local rink is terrible or something. But like, I grew up going to the London Gardens and had season tickets there for the last several years. It was open, and it was just a madhouse. It was insane all the time. It's a great place to watch hockey, like sitting right on top of the action, and intimate. And I miss it a lot. I mean, obviously, the nights were terrible for most of my childhood and adolescence, and I don't begrudge. We're now in a large building, and we're doing very well here versus what we used to be. And, success is good. I'm not going to be the one to say that, but I do miss the atmosphere in the old building. But in terms of travels, I think my favorite rink I've ever done is Val d'Or, Quebec. It's just for a lot of similar reasons to why I liked my old hometown rink. It was the seats are right on top of the action, insanely steep, looking down on everything. The atmosphere, even for an early October game, was just incredible. And I tend to be more interested in the barns too. Like, a lot of the new clone rinks are the same. Like Moose Jaw's building was pretty similar to a lot of others I've seen in the other two leagues, and there wasn't really a whole lot that was interesting or unique about it. But Prince Albert and Swift Current were both a lot of fun because they were different.
Yeah, I mean, I get asked the question a lot, like, what's your favorite rink that you've been to? And again, even though Guelph isn't exactly exciting, it is considered a clone rink. It's still home, so it's where you feel comfortable, and I just love going there. But I really don't. I can't say I have a favorite. I know I regard for this weekend Prince Albert. I'm gonna rate very highly. It was an awesome experience. I guess we'll get into that a little bit more. But and like Kevin, I've kind of grown to appreciate the barns more because I missed most of them in the OHL. Right around the time I started doing trips was right after a bunch of them had just closed. So I didn't. So I'm getting to see hopefully a bunch in the queue. For example. Gatineau should be getting a new rink at some point next season, and it's the closest Q team to us in Ontario, so I just keep putting it off every year because it's right next to Ottawa, and I'm I'll get there. I'll get there. So now it's to the point where I'm like, I have to go this year, or they think maybe it could be into next season where it opens, but there's a chance that it's ready for their home opener, so I better just get up there this season. But I will say this, comfiest seats ever are at the Moda Center in Portland and in Rimouski.
Okay.
And Rimouski would probably be surprising. It's an old barn, but damn, it was comfy.
Have there been any new rinks that have captured that old kind of barn feel? Is that even possible?
That's a good question. I mean, for me, I think part of the old barn feeling was from the fact that a lot of what's happening these days in game presentation and all that is corporate. Like, they didn't used to have things like kiss cams and people were more paying attention to the game, not on their phones. And I mean, I'm guilty of that as anybody else. Like I was live tweeting all 3 games we were at, and every stoppage and play, you're not really paying attention. And not that I'm going to be getting up and screaming anyway. I mean, I'm old and don't care about who wins anyway. But I think that a certain era of fan culture has been lost a little bit in the past few years. But so I don't know that that's necessarily the building's problems. But I mean, there have definitely been times where I've been in new buildings and they have been still rocking like the old ones. But you have to have a promotions and game day staff that know how to work with the crowd rather than battling against them. And like London and Windsor, especially in the OHL, like they're just like they have so many promotions to get through that it doesn't matter what the crowd's doing. Every stoppage and play is already pre-planned. We didn't get the sense in any of the 3 rinks we did this weekend that it's like that, but I'm sure there are places like that in the Western League as well.
Yeah, I would have to say like the closest I've seen to it would maybe be Niagara, and maybe the first couple years that Windsor had their new rink open. When Windsor moved to the WFCU Center, it was such a night and day experience from their old arena at the barn, which was literally a barn. But they were Memorial Cup champions a couple years in a row, and had a third year where they went to the conference final. So they were riding high, and they were riding so high that the rink was packed every night, and their fans were still very intense and into it. So it gave it an atmosphere. But since then, since 2011, they have not won a playoff series, and their team management has done everything they could since then to drive fans away. So now it's totally dead. But Niagara, they played in a 3,100 seat barn, or 3,100 capacity barn, I should say, that was built in the 1930s. And they got their new rink about 4 years ago. And while there are a couple nights that are iffy, they still seem to draw very well. And I've been to some games that are pretty loud, but nothing really captures what you get in an old barn. And a lot of it, because of what Kevin said, just the times have changed, and it's not the way it was in the even in the early 2000s. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned it's not just the building; it's what goes on in it. And we noticed that at Pat's games too. I mean, we haven't changed venues, but back in the 90s, it was the Agra Dome, they called it, right? Because it's the Agra Dome, and it was there was nothing going on. It was just the game. There was no noises in between. I don't even know if they played music during breaks in the play. And it's almost gone full swing now that it's constant. It does not stop.
We had the one preseason game there where they didn't do anything. It was just the game, and it was like, oh,
it's
nice.
Constant promotions. It's constant music.
And even the promotions now. So like the tractor race was, they'd go find 3 kids in the stands, and each kid would pick 1, 2, or 3, and then whoever won the race won the prize, right? Well, now you do it on your phone. Like it's not the
trivia on your phone too.
Yeah, the trivia on your phone. Like they're gearing it towards your phone rather than trying to keep the actual audience engaged into things.
And I don't know if it's driving people away, but is it bringing people in too? Like, is it enough to get people who don't care enough about hockey?
There is a way to do it, right? Like, I mean, part of the reason why I got into junior hockey so much I grew up with it, but part of the reason that I got so into junior hockey in the early mid 2000s was because of the fact that where I live in London, we're about 2-hour drive from 3 different NHL teams, and all 3 of them at that time were the Leafs had left the Maple Leaf Gardens, and the Red Wings were impossible to get tickets for, and Buffalo was. The promotions there were crazy, and so the atmosphere that I'd grown up with in these old NHL ranks were gone, and had been replaced by this new corporate thing with constant promotions and like way too loud music and that sort of thing. And junior hockey still felt pure and untainted, and I really enjoyed that. And by the 2010 or so, like junior hockey had completely gone in the same direction as the NHL. And what I found now, like I'm 6 away from finishing the NHL, well, 7, I guess, if you include Vegas, but I'm set from finishing the NHL. And the NHL, most of the teams now have learned how to seamlessly integrate promotions into the game presentation, so that like the game day staff knows, okay, if the fans get going, maybe we'll hold off on this promotion till next time. I mean, obviously, if you get a TV timeout, like the cheering is not going to survive that anyway. But they're way, way better at it in most places than they used to be. And so the atmosphere in places like old school places like your Philadelphias or your New Yorks or Bostons or Chicagos has really come back a lot in a way that it wasn't maybe 20 years ago. And the OHL is sort of still in that awkward phase. I don't know if it's the same out west, but a lot of the junior barns that you go to these days, it's still, in a large part, these are amateurs, not just on the ice, but the people running the show are amateurs. It's, teenagers running the video board, and they don't really have a sense of how to run the show so that it doesn't interfere or interrupt or detract from what's going on.
It's a developmental league for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you can set your watch to the Pats. It's the same things at every breakage, right?
Yeah. It's same for most. It's same thing in golf. It's same thing everywhere.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
I used to be able to tell, like I could predict what song was going to get played next. Like it's like they had in London in the early 2000s, like they had a couple of the Big Shiny Tunes albums and and like a couple other things, and like you could actually tell, okay, and like you could tell what point of the game it was by what song they were playing. Like it was the same every single time.
Yeah.
Well, we have a DJ now, so he changes it up a little bit.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't really have. I see no
turns his
absolute
dials.
And
here.
that's the thing. I see no point to that. But
I remember, like in Kitchener a few years ago, they started doing a thing like tweet your song requests and stuff. But then it just turns into like a bunch of kids going, "I want to hear like," and that's the thing. I can't even think of something because
or
I'm not
rickrolling every.
Yeah, like I can't think. I'm not up on new music, so I don't know. But it's that type of thing, right? Like stuff where all the old time season ticket holders are just like, "What the hell is this?" You know? And whereas
I
I'm
vote for Bodie McBoatface. Like,
exactly. I want to listen to Bodie McBoatface or the musical equivalent to that.
Yeah.
Never rely on the taste of the public.
Well, and speaking of that, like, so we got a new goal song this year. I don't know what it was last year. I don't know what song it was, but so this year our goal song is "Two Princes" by the Spin Doctors.
And that's just funny to me right now because on the way out here, I was watching South Park, and it was when, if for anyone familiar with South Park, it was when Stan's dad Randy, they moved and he created a weed farm, and then he knitted Stan a new hat out of hemp, and it was like a really long one with the things that went down, and every time he put the hat on, the Two Princes started playing, and they take it off and it instantly turned off. So
yeah, that's our goal song, and I've got to get to the bottom of that. I think it's team issued by.
Well, Prince Albert's goal song is "Run Around Sue," which I mean, you guys may have known, but I was shocked at that. It's like, okay, that's different.
Yeah, unless Ozzy Weisblatt scores, then it's Crazy Train.
Yeah,
and he scored one.
It was his bobblehead night after all.
And it was his bobblehead night.
Did you get one?
We did get one. It's
nice.
Right behind you. You can open it up live on the show here.
Live unboxing. These get a lot of views on.
This is where the Pats cast really takes off.
Yeah. Ozzy Weisblatt bobblehead.
I was saying, like, I've literally never advertised any of my website or creative endeavors whatsoever, and it's just like, saw you guys with, like, they have the WHL Pats cast things on the back of their cars, and I was like, that's a great idea. Why didn't I ever think of this?
Look, he's got a concussion. Yeah,
yeah, one of those.
So he doesn't get rattled.
Yeah.
Get his. Oh, look at that.
Standing on a milk crate.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, the milk crate. That is brilliant. That's
Yes.
actually really.
That's well done. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we were told the story of the milk crates, and it's just like that. That's kind of cool.
Milk crates and step ladders and
Like, what other team in the CHL actually has a now official no milk crate policy? Got to only be Prince Albert.
Yeah.
That is. That's pretty good, actually. I'm impressed with the milk crate part of it.
I love Prince Albert. Like, I just, I know this is the Pats cast and not the Raider cast here, and I mean, I nothing for or against either team. I don't care.
No,
realistically,
yeah.
but
let's go.
But it was
the
so much
weekend
fun.
here.
Yeah.
We'll
Let's.
start with Friday, I guess.
So you guys came out here, flew in on a pretty early flight.
Yeah, we came in Friday morning pretty early.
Okay.
Earlier than either of us would have liked, but it's the necessary evil.
Yeah.
And not only did we see 3 games, we went to all 5 buildings.
Right.
In Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
So we went right to the Agrodome, walked in, the door was open. We walked in, took some pictures for Kevin. He hadn't been inside. Steve's obviously been here before, but so we got in there, and then we.
Well, just Steve, you've seen games in the Brandt Center. You haven't. Any impressions? I mean, it's an older rink. It's the 70s.
77.
I mean, mine is skewed a little bit because it was a Memorial Cup, so the crowd was varied. But I remember the semifinal when you guys beat Hamilton to punch your ticket to the final, it being pretty loud, and you know there had been a few games earlier in that week that had not drawn very well. Not so much the Pats games, obviously, but you know it seems like if I came back for like. If I were to be here for like a Pats playoff game or something, I think it would be a pretty rockin' barn, and I'm sure it has been in the past. But
it was.
How
We went to the
long do you
final
have?
yeah, unfortunately, I got work on Tuesday. So, but yeah. Oh, you mean yeah? No, I'm getting it now. But you know what? I think there's enough of an atmosphere and an edge there, even though you guys are obviously second fiddle to the Riders. Like, but I like the Agrodome. And it's a good rink, and I wouldn't mind actually coming back, even though I've done it before. I've done 8 games there for Memorial Cup. I wouldn't mind doing like a regular Pats game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say. I liked it. It's a nice building. Not much from the outside, but from the inside, it was cool. I definitely would happily come back.
Kevin did notice it from the plane.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
hard to miss.
it's aged well.
Yeah, definitely.
Until you maybe go into the washrooms, and they still got the old. I was thinking about that on Friday. I thought, there's these big sinks that you push down, and people who don't know just go up to them, and they think they're maybe no, they are not. They are not motion operated.
Elementary school special.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, at least the troughs are gone.
Yeah,
Right?
the troughs are gone. Yeah.
I don't know why people have this like really fantasized memories of peeing in a trough next to everyone. Like, what is that? I don't get it. Everyone's like, oh, I've done it, but it's just like people like, oh, I wish for the troughs to be back. It's like, why?
Wait, who said that?
Yeah, I know some weird people.
Fair enough. You know, I remember, the trough urinals at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. I remember going there when I was 10 years old and just like not having it's like, okay, what do you do?
So wrapping up Regina, and then you guys were off to Swift Current that night.
Yeah. So
how was the drive?
Well, I'm going to interrupt that just a little bit.
Okay.
My Western Hockey League story is that even though this was Friday night was my first ever Western Hockey League game, but because arenas are kind of my thing, I have been out west before. I did Jets, Flames, and Oilers last year, and my sister-in-law lives in Vancouver, and she got married in 2015 out there, and my wife and I drove out there and drove back. So I figured out, like, I've been to like all but 6 of the Western Hockey League buildings already, like including this weekend. So like I've been in Swift Current before. Like drove by in 2015, the summer of 2015. They had the ice in. Like took a walk around the building. Like, and I was just like, I got to come back here for a game. This place is fantastic. Like just a nice tiny old barn, and it was definitely top of the list. Like I didn't care where we went for the third game this weekend, but I knew I wanted to see the 2 Saskatchewan barns while we still could before they were open. But like I've been to like Lethbridge and Moose Jaw, Red Deer, and stuff like that already. Never seen games in any of them, but we've seen all of them.
And the iPlex is kind of unique because it is old with a new part kind of jammed onto it. The curling rinks.
Yeah, lots of places have done that. Like Prince Albert's like that too.
Is it?
There's lots of places in the east that are like that too.
Yeah, the front concourse is pretty nice in PA. Same thing, just slammed on.
Rimouski, same thing in the queue, like old arena, and then this beautiful new atrium on the front. So.
Okay.
Swift Current I was looking forward to it. We did stop at the memorial on the way to town.
Right.
That was kind of, I don't want to say if neat's the right word, but it was something I wanted to see and a bit surreal.
Yeah,
and,
it was finally due, like you were saying, it just come up.
But that's
like 2 years ago.
I lived in Swift Current for years, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, it wasn't there in 2015, I know, because I wanted to know where the crash was.
Which is, it's kind of odd that it took that long for them to put anything.
30 years,
Yeah. So it's good that it's there, and it's really well done.
So it was well done. So we went and saw that, and got into town, and the rink. It reminded me a lot of Owen Sound in the OHL, but a bit smaller. And if you're an OHL fan, you would think, how can you get smaller than that and still have a building going strong? But I did like their kind of at the one end. They have that. What did you kind of had a good word for it?
Lobby.
Yeah, lobby, I guess, whatever.
The cafeteria.
Cafeteria, yeah. But it made for like a good meeting place, I guess, at intermission for people. And
food was really good there. I don't usually eat arena food. Like a lot of like ballpark and arena websites out there are like they rate the food, and I was like, I don't want to eat a hot dog at every place I go. Like it sounds awful. Yeah. But we did eat at the rink there, and it was the food was surprisingly good.
Yeah. It was a $5 sausage special, so it wasn't a hot dog.
Did they have so they had the player, his name was Tyler Steenbergen, right? Scored the winning goal, right?
And I
They had the Steenberger for a while.
Yeah, I don't know if they still have it. I totally forgot about that. I was thinking about it, and then
So I lived in Swift Current. They used to do, was it Toonie Tuesdays? They don't play a lot of Tuesday games. It was Toonie Wednesday, but that doesn't rhyme.
but something you guys probably wouldn't even notice this because it just registers as normal. But I mean, something that I noticed, I imagine Steve did as well, is like all the ads on rink boards for like farm equipment companies and like seeds and all this stuff, like
fertilizer, tractor land.
Like I'm from farm country. Like Southern Ontario is a very fertile farmland. You can grow all kinds of stuff there, but it's not permeating the culture in the same way as it is out here. So it was kind of neat to see that, and like guys in the stands with cowboy hats and mustaches that went out of fashion 30 years ago, and that's just it was a throwback in all of the best possible ways.
Well, Swift Current is nobody's Swift and nothing's current.
I was mad at first, but then I had to thank the Broncos because I'm a jersey collector and I'm a sucker for buying a game worn jersey, and the Broncos had several game worns for sale, and they're a beautiful jersey. And then I saw the price. I think the lowest we saw was about $350.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, that sucks. But then I thought, you know what? Thanks for making this an easy choice, right? And even like I was going to buy a T-shirt, and honestly, the only one that I liked was like a long sleeve T-shirt, and they wanted $50 for it. And it's just like, yeah, I'm buying a puck, and bye.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
But the one thing that kind of disappointed me about Swift Current, and I've heard great things about the atmosphere there, and I have no doubt that when that place is full and in the right situation, that place probably is insanely loud, and I've heard that this weekend. But maybe just we're not there at the right time. I think I heard it holds like 2,800, and there was maybe 17 there in the building.
It was pretty empty.
It was maybe a little over half full. And the people who were there just didn't seem to care. And it was a close game for most part. It was 3-1 till late, until the last couple. Yeah, it was 2-1 until the third, and then it was 3-1 kind of halfway through the third, and then there was an empty netter. But it was just one of those, like, even when things were happening, no one seemed to care, other than the one goal they scored in the second.
Yeah, like for my first Western Hockey League game, it was everything I was expecting, which is Brent Sutter was there, and it was defensive, and most of the way through the game it was 2-1. So
yeah, a lot of hits though.
A lot of hitting.
So
yep.
speak to that a little more. The difference in the games, are they that different?
No, not anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yes, once upon a time.
Yeah.
Like it used to be. Like, well, I mean, way back in the 70s, like the Western Hockey League was the high-scoring league.
Yeah.
But the Quebec League hasn't been the weak sister for a very long time, and the style of play has been standardized a lot across the leagues. Like, there's a little like minor rule changes and stuff. Like, they are still independent leagues and they run their own shows, but no, like I didn't notice a difference in the style of play.
Okay.
No, there's each coaches have their own style, and I would say, like, you take a look at a Brent Sutter game, and it's very similar to what you'll see with a Stan Butler game in the OHL with the battalions. So, lock it down. You get your 2-1 lead, and you don't get your exactly. So it's just it didn't make for the most exciting game. And on top of that, the fans weren't super into it. But I don't want to talk too bad about their fans or anything. This isn't a knock on them. It's just one of those nights. It's an early season game, and they're coming off a very bad season. It just didn't
against a team that isn't very exciting either.
And they got beat 5-1. It just didn't make for a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Like, I mean, I'm sure that I've heard lots of stories about how great Swift is, and so like I'm sure that what we saw wasn't representative of how good it can get. But the building was still cool. Like, very, very intimate. One of the smaller buildings I've ever seen. Like, it reminded me in a lot of ways of the old St. Mike's building in Toronto, where it held 1,600 people. Like, the same barrel roof and the same, like, spread on top of the action seats. Like, I would enjoy going to games there more regularly. It's just we didn't happen to see a very good game. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, one thing, they have the new screen there. That was very nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
They got. It seems like every team that wins the dub.
Yeah, it gets a new.
So it was after their championship. They got a new screen
So
and
it was
lighting.
there last year?
Yeah,
It was?
I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, PA had their new screen as well.
I talked to the guys in PA. They said it was new this year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But but at the same time, I'm happy I got to a game in Swift Current. Like, and I know barns are becoming a thing in the past in the W as they are in the OHL. If you want barns, my advice would be to go to the Q. There's a lot over there, but
Rouen is a literal barn from the pictures I've seen.
But yeah, I'm glad we got there, and it wasn't the most exciting game. It wasn't the most exciting atmosphere. So it's not exactly the most glowing review I can give it, but I mean, it's what happened, right?
Yeah. And then you drove back to Regina that night.
Yeah, came back to Regina, then up in the morning again.
Okay, so up on your way to PA, but a little detour.
Yeah, we thought we'd check out Humboldt because it's
Yeah.
not far of the way, so we went and checked out the rink. And another thing to Swift, being the community center, we were able to get in before the game and get some clean shots
Yeah,
of the arena.
because it's always open. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always open, and then they were like shooing us out at 6:00 to close the doors.
So you can come back in with your ticket.
Yeah, exactly. So then we went, grabbed a beer,
Yeah.
came back, and got in. So
Yeah, Humboldt was heartbreaking. Like, I mean, I was on a cruise in the Caribbean when that happened, and it was like the talk of the ship. Like,
oh, really?
yeah, like it was. The story of what happened there went way beyond the borders of Saskatchewan or even in Canada. But if you haven't been up there since that happened, like they've got a banner in the rafters for every member of the team, and like all the people who died are on one row, and then all the people who survived are on the next one. And it's just the enormity of what happened there really is driven home, because it's not even like taking nothing away from the Broncos bus crash, but they lost half the team up in Humboldt, and it's one thing to hear about it or to see it on the news or anything like that, but to actually go into the building and sit in the stands there and look up in the rafters and see like the banners for 14 people or whatever it was that died is just really, really heartbreaking.
They had a good memorial in the lobby too, with a little banner for every person that was on the bus, and a lot of mementos in this kind of trophy case kind of thing. So that was really nice and a little bit awe-inspiring, sad, but it's so many emotions, right? You watch that. So they still had the sticks out beside the front door of the rink. So
Right.
But on a lighter note, as far as a hockey rink is concerned, it was pretty cool. Not many junior teams of that level have video boards in the rafters. So I have to say,
it's nicer than Moose Jaws. What
yeah.
can I say?
You know what? We didn't see it turned on, but I would imagine it's nicer than Moose Jaws from what we saw. We'll get there, but you know what? It looked like a great barn.
Yeah, and I've been
Moose
there.
Jaws
for
board
one
was
game.
a 16-bit one. It looked like the Super NES.
Yeah. I've been to a game there. It was a playoff. It was a final, SJ final. Last time they won it in 2012, and it was a pretty good barn to be in. Like it's decent seating. Like it's a nice rink.
I heard someone was collecting all the stuff that was sent to them and lack of a better word, memorabilia around the crash. Was that accessible? Was that something?
No,
someone was setting something up.
There was a sign so the memorial display at the arena, there was a sign saying basically, if you want to know more about it, there's the Humboldt City Museum has a whole exhibition going on. So I assume it's all there.
Yeah, that must be it. Okay, and then did you go to PA then, or stop in Saskatoon first?
No, then we went to PA.
So, I mean, just PA as a city, I mean, you've seen the rest of Saskatchewan. It is what it is. But getting up there, that's where I think Saskatchewan shines. When you get up into that, it's really kind of the start of the Canadian Shield, and you get into the forests and whatnot. And, I mean, even people from Saskatchewan haven't been to PA. There's a lot of people I talk to who haven't been up there.
It's not on the way to anywhere. Yeah, like you wouldn't just go through on the.
But there's a national park, just
Yeah.
a couple 100 kilometers north of there.
You got to be dedicated. Like you got to be needing something up there to go there.
That's
right?
why you go there because of what it is. In my opinion,
I see where you're coming from. I see where they're coming from. Right, like, yeah, it's not, it's not on the way to somewhere else or Saskatoon. It is the end of the line population wise, but there is so much to explore up there.
Yeah,
and
it's beautiful.
And that's my first time there, and hopefully it's not the last, because I do want to check out the national park and all that stuff.
I think it's something like, if you're like you guys being here in Regina, it's a bit of a drive, but it's not inaccessible to you.
No.
So maybe going up there to explore, but for someone like myself from Ontario, right? Like, it's just like, when would I ever?
No, and I wouldn't expect you,
go?
but I'm honestly, there's a lot. This guy over here who have never even been up there, and it's a whole different world.
Like, I'm an arena junkie. Maybe if I was like a national park junkie, and I'm sure there are those people, they would be like, let's go to Prince Albert. There's a national park up there.
Every year they go to a different national park.
Yeah,
it was nice. Like, definitely. Part of the reason that I'm still doing this is because you're searching for new experiences, and like, I'm going to be in Vancouver and going to go see the Canucks in February. Going to go see my sister-in-law and her husband, and we're definitely going to make a point of a Canucks game. And will I make it to see the Giants? Maybe. They're home while I'm there, but I take you spending all that time on transit to go see a clone of 7 other rinks I've been to before. It doesn't sound that appealing. But Prince Albert is just like, it's remote, it's beautiful, it's a end of the world kind of place, and the barn was really, really cool. Like, it was great atmosphere. So yeah, like that was the highlight of the trip. It made it worth coming.
good. That's nice to hear.
Definitely. I really liked it. The fans are great. I was chatting with the old lady sitting beside me all game.
Yeah,
like it was real good.
I had a bit of a funny story where I was. I had been on Raiders radio during the Memorial Cup in Halifax, and so I knew those guys, and they welcomed me back. They asked if I'd come on for second intermission, so I went and did that during the second intermission. And on my way back to the seats, the game was just getting going again. But I got stopped by two guys who saw I was wearing my Guelph Storm jersey, and they were from Ontario, but I guess they live out here now. And the one guy said he was from Beaverton, and we talked for a while.
Is that a real place?
Yeah, it is. Honestly,
I don't even know.
I honestly don't know. I heard someone say it was up near Aurelia. I don't know. yeah, Kevin will look it up. I've heard of it. I just don't know exactly where it is. So, but anyway, so I got back to our seats, and I told Kevin and Chris about it, and I said, these guys were from Beaverton, and an old woman sitting in front of us like instantly turned around and said, "You're from Ontario too?" And they're like, "We're from Beaverton." And I was like, "So that must be like your son, right?" And she's like, "It could have been." And then like a couple minutes later, she got a text. It was her son that I was talking to. So it was like, man, this is small town.
To the interest of absolutely nobody other than Steve and I, Beaverton is on the east side of Lake Simcoe, directly across from Barrie.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
So, I know where that is. You guys don't.
Very
No
interesting.
idea.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So the game.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Pat's
not-
lost.
No. I mean, the game. It wasn't the greatest game, but the building was full. The crowd was engaged.
Yeah.
Despite obviously they're winning, so it went well for them. But yeah, everybody was super friendly. There was people stopping, talking to us.
My one complaint, and this is it's becoming a theme. So I mean, I'm partial to teams that wear green and gold in the absence of anything else. And so when I went to Val d'Or in 2007, I was determined I was going to buy a Val d'Or hat, and they didn't have a great merch selection up there, and I didn't wind up buying anything because there wasn't anything that nice. I wanted something obnoxiously green with the team logo on it. And so heading up to Prince Albert, and these guys can vouch for this, I was like, I'm going to buy a Prince Albert Raiders hat, and it's going to be obnoxiously green, and it's going to have the logo on it, and it's going to be great. And then, of course, they didn't have that either. So I'm now over to.
Technically, they did have a green hat.
I'm not wearing a hat that racist. I'm sorry.
Was it the
Yeah. This guy.
the culturally insensitive?
It was, in fact.
Yeah. But he's wearing a helmet now.
Yeah. The mascot was wearing the keffiyeh right up until last year at the Memorial Cup, but they've switched him to a helmet for safety.
They're still selling that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
I thought
lots
that
of merch
was,
with that. on it.
Lots of merch with that on there.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's painted right on
It's
the
a little
building, too.
problematic, as they say.
It's painted right on the walls in the rink.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because they've gone through a
Kevin
few.
got a selfie with them.
You may not have. So they had that, and then they went to a pirate,
Yeah.
and now they went to something else too. Didn't they?
It's like a sword with the
Yeah.
letters
Yeah,
PA.
They just got
around
rid
it.
of
Yeah.
the guy. Just
Yeah.
totally
Just
eliminate
make
that
one.
element.
But they still sell throwback merch, yeah.
Yeah, but they wore it once last year.
They did, yeah.
There was a guy wearing it.
Yeah,
one of the
totally.
jerseys. So
I mean, it's not the most racist logo in the CHL.
I mean, we might have went to the next racist one day after, right?
Yeah.
I'm still giving that title to Shawinigan, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think we all like. If anyone has heard that story, it's definitely Shawinigan. Like,
Well,
hands down.
just explain what they have on their goal, like, because that really makes it.
So every time the Shawinigan Cataracts score a goal, they have a cigar store Indian, like literally carved out of wood, hanging from the rafters on a pulley, and they wheel it out on a winch over center ice, and like he's pointing at the opposition team goalie.
Oh my god.
I'm not joking.
And this was something they had in their old building. Like they played in like a really old building,
Yeah.
but they moved to a new one in like 2009, and they moved it to the new building.
Yeah, I went to a game at the old Jacques Plante Arena in Shawinigan right before it closed. I haven't been to the new building still, but like that was the oldest seeming building I've ever been to. Like they had an old like 1970s style like dot matrix scoreboard, no center ice clock. Like this was literally hanging in one end. And other than that, there was basically literally nothing there that wasn't from the 1930s. Like it's just the building opened brand new in the 30s and just was not touched. Like
What
it wasn't
kind
even
of seats?
painted wood. Like
Just bench?
No, 90 degrees. Like the flat bench and then like a massive seat back. Yeah, so uncomfortable. But
It's
yeah,
like Taylor Field.
Yeah.
but yeah, like literally, like there was an old guy. We found out like controlling this Indian, like the old guy at the back of the stands, like, and it was literally like a button, and like he'd flip the switch, and like the Indian would get winched out over the ice, and
It
every
comes
time
down
they
at
scored a goal-
center ice?
Yeah,
Well, no, not
Well,
down. Like it just
yeah.
comes like across the rafters, kind of thing.
yeah.
Oh,
Like he's
okay.
up in one of the building's corners, and then when they score, he gets winched out over center ice, and then gets withdrawn again. But like, yeah, the building had like support columns in the seats. Like there were obstructed views everywhere. It was a crazy old.
And they got rid of it, that rink.
Yeah.
But decided to bring that.
They brought
along
the
with
Indian
them.
with them. Yep. And they made the logo more racist as well.
Like this logo isn't, because they updated everything. Like teams will do that. You get into a new rink, let's re-stylize the logo, and they went more racist with it. Because cataract in French, it's waterfall.
Okay.
So why a Native American? I don't know.
Sure.
And there was a time where that wasn't their logo. Like that wasn't their original logo or anything. They decided along the years, let's make this the logo. One year, their season ticket drive in the summer, they had an ad where it was a player at it was like half face, and one half is like a player wearing a helmet looking like mean and ready to go to play, and the other half was a Native American wearing a headdress.
Yeah.
So just because
Quebec.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. So after the game, there was. Well, unless you want to keep going on this.
So anyway, Prince Albert's power play was really good.
We haven't solved racism yet, guys.
Yeah, we better keep going.
4 white guys in their 30s will solve racism here on the WHL podcast.
Yeah.
All right.
So after the game, we stopped, and people stopped us quite a few times, and we were making our way to this lounge.
What did you get in your Pats jersey?
I was wearing my maroon.
Yeah. Did you get any Reagan or anything?
No.
Okay. Just
no.
wondering.
PA was outstanding. They're
Yeah.
like, you guys are out here coming up to PA to watch a game, and
You were the only Pats fan in the building, though.
I was, but we've seen Pats fans in PA before. I didn't see any on Saturday night.
Okay.
But
They were the smart ones that stayed home.
yeah, exactly. But so we make our way to this lounge, and I can see that they've got some interviews going on, but there's some friendly guys chatting, and so we're talking with them. And so we wander into this lounge, and here it's Trevor Redden, the play-by-play guy. They got the color guy on a couch, and they got players on the couch. So they're doing their post-game interview right there in the lounge.
Yeah.
Live on the radio.
Live on the radio, yeah. And there's 30 tables of people sitting around, eating food, drinking, doing whatever.
Like
and
cheering the interviews at certain times.
yeah, cheering. And
Cheering the players. And
yeah, as they walk up on the
I mean,
stage.
their
and,
goalie did have a shutout,
Yeah.
an easy one.
oh, yeah.
And they've
So
got
it's-
the Ed Chenoweth cups just sitting there on a table, too.
and the cup's just sitting there.
Okay. Before we go much further, do you get to keep it the whole year?
I assume
Is that
so.
a thing?
I know last time Guelph won the OHL title, the trophy was like just sitting in the team store on game days for most of the season.
You must just
By
have
the
it the whole
playoffs,
year.
I think you have to give it back.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think it's yours for most of the year, unless the league needs it for something in particular.
It's interesting. I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be there all year or what, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a great setup. And, like,
That's kind of cool.
the post game ended. Then, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, people kind of, like, started walking up and taking pictures with the trophy. And we're like, okay. So these guys went up and claimed it for the OHL for themselves.
I mean, I can touch the trophy.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my arm around it, and I'm like, well, it's not like the Guelph Storm are ever going to win the Edgewood Cup. And that's what I posted as my caption on Instagram. And I've just been informed by my now former podcast co-host Brian Thompson. He says, yeah, and now they won't anymore. Good job, dipshit.
Good old Bride.
Yeah, he's always good for one.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was great. And then we spent, I don't know, 45 minutes up there chatting
That's
with
cool.
It
fans.
took
and
us like an hour after the game before we could leave because people just kept stopping us.
yeah.
The locals were so friendly we couldn't get away.
Yeah, it was outstanding. I
That's-
was very impressed.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a cool story. Yeah.
The gritty shirt was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you follow like us on social media, I can't show right now. You're listening to this, but
I'll retweet it.
Yeah,
This
it-
guy was wearing this amazing
like this
gritty
looks like a
shirt.
shirt that was made in like the mid '90s
Yeah.
when all like the most horrific shit was being made.
like all the neon colors and
Yeah.
shapes and Nike things.
And
you
Gritty's
know.
only been around for what, a year?
1 year.
So
His
this is
birthday
a
just
new
recently.
shirt.
They introduced they introduced him when we were on our Quebec trip actually last year because
Right.
we were driving through Montreal and I was driving and you were like, so the Flyers introduced a mascot and we went through the whole range of Gritty emotions from this is the dumbest thing in the world to I will literally die for Gritty within like 6 hours.
It was a long drive to Baie-Comeau, okay?
It's way out there, yeah. So yeah, everyone was super friendly, and yeah, it was real good.
Nothing but great things to say about Prince Albert.
Yeah.
Yep.
How late were you guys out? I guess Matt Rose just tweeting in saying PA's putting in a curfew. Were you guys out after curfew or no?
I don't know what curfew is, but
Well,
I don't know.
our hotel.
so we stayed right beside the rink.
Yeah, like the
probably
view
good.
out the window was of the Art Hauser Center.
Yeah.
How?
And we had the penthouse in
Yeah.
the hotel. We had the best suite.
Yeah, we had a good room courtesy of one Kevin Jordan.
Yeah.
And there was a bar attached to the hotel, and we figured, we thought about going back to where we had dinner because
Yeah,
it was a pretty
downtown.
decent place.
Yeah, it was really nice.
But then we're like, we don't want to have to make Chris, drive. So
Yeah, we're
there's
like,
a bar right
attached.
here. Let's just go down there. How bad can it be, right?
How bad can it be?
PA showed its
I'll never
colors.
forget it. Well, as we were walking down the hall to this place,
It was called Bailey's.
it was called Bailey's Lounge. So instantly we're like, is
We'll
this the
get some
Rippers?
sweet
Yeah.
checks from them now.
We're not used like whatever law you have in Saskatchewan that like children can't see you drinking alcohol, so all the the bar parts have to be sealed off or whatever. I don't know what's like. I've seen that in a couple of places here.
Yeah.
So like Bailey's, we're walking up to it, and there's like this rhinestone sign over the door, and like you can tell through it's frosted glass, but you can tell it's like sort of like pulsing, like soft lights on the other side. And I'm just like, I'm 50-50 whether there's going to be strippers on the other side.
And
Thankfully, with the clientele there, no.
But there might have been some clothes being
PA strippers. with-
Well, we found a couch to sit on, like
couch.
like two. There were
Okay.
two couches. Yeah, table. It was not in a VIP room.
are these cloth couches?
Leather.
Okay.
Leather. But there was these two couches with a coffee table kind of in between. So we just kind of sat there and ordered our drinks. And but we were there was like an upper level to it, but only like a couple feet up. So and it was right beside us, and there was like this glass railing beside me, and then this couple started dancing right beside it, and then his ass got pressed right up against the glass, like right next to my face. So that was cool.
Yeah, we basically watched an ill-advised hookup in progress.
I mean, it goes a lot to say when you have to pay for the drink, as they give it to you.
Yeah, no tabs there, that's for sure.
Did you eat there?
No, we did not eat
Okay.
there. I don't know if they even offer food there. I mean, they do have a restaurant on the other side, but the lounge did not. I don't think they offered food,
All
but
right.
it was pay for your drink as you go.
Yeah.
But
Well, that
yeah, it was
sounds fun.
interesting. We've seen a little bit of PA that I was kind of expecting.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you got to see every side of a town when you go there, right?
I know. We were blown away by the first part of PA. We were like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, okay.
Then reality.
Yeah, then it's like
reality set in, but I'm not going to let it diminish
No.
my good
No.
experience at PA.
No.
that's
not at
good.
all.
That's good. Okay, so then stayed in PA that night, and then down to. Did you go right to Moose Jaw?
No, we stopped in Saskatoon.
Right. Okay.
So they have a game today too. It was our other option for Sunday.
Right.
I think it looked like it would have been a better game to see, but
Yeah.
Steve really wanted to see Moose Jaw instead.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't think he actually really wanted to see Moose Jaw instead.
Well,
Just-
It's an OCD thing. At that point, it was the only rink in Saskatchewan I hadn't seen a game in, so I wanted it.
so
Yeah,
he's
and
seen a
I
bunch.
didn't care. So
Yeah, he's seen a bunch in Saskatoon already. So we stopped in. We wandered ourselves down to the business office as the doors were locked. We found one door that was open and asked if we could do a little tour, take some pictures, and the lady was very friendly and let us into the rink. And
every non-Moose Javian I've met in Saskatchewan has been super friendly.
so they let us. I don't think the Zamboni driver was too keen on getting his picture taken, as he was like shielding his face while he's trying to drive the
I
Zamboni.
think he was also screwing around with like the other employee. Like they seem to know each other. So
so we got in there, checked it out, and then we moved on to Moose Jaw.
I was happy to see it. I mean, that's good enough for me for
So-
now. I'm sure we'll be back at some point.
So did you tell him that? I don't know if it's the official story of Sask Place. With why it was built.
No, I did not.
the
So-
Saskatoon Blues.
Yeah, I've heard the story. I've heard the story.
Yeah.
Okay,
So Saskatchewan they're still holding on to the dream of having an NHL.
Like
Yeah.
I said, Saskatoon looks down on us, right? Like,
Okay, so it's like Hamilton but flatter.
yeah. It in that
we had a bit of bit of a boom a couple years ago, and then the talk started happening again. You know, could we do it? Winnipeg has one again. They can do it, and we could support an NHL team.
And so I asked these guys too, what do you like better, Regina or Saskatoon? Because they've both been to both cities now.
I mean, I don't have an answer to that. I mean,
Steve, I guess, has a really good.
I've spent over a week in both cities, so.
And I know Saskatoon really looks down upon us, but Steve is as much.
Steve's Team Regina.
Yeah. Which nothing wrong with that.
I spend a lot of in both. I've spent a lot of time now. The Saskatoon's got its thing.
Yeah. But I mean, they look down on us.
Exactly.
I mean, the thing they'll always go to is the river.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
for me, like my experience of Saskatoon was the arena and the ring road.
Yeah.
And that end of experience.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So I mean, I'm not qualified to answer that.
It's
question.
all right. I'm not going to.
They did not build their arena in a very smart place.
I mean, it's the argument, and you saw it in Moose Jaw. It's the downtown versus outside the city argument, and
I mean, I'm generally team downtown in most cases. I mean, there are cases where it makes sense to build it outside the city. But I mean, if we're using this as a segue into Moose Jaw, my big issue with Moose Jaw is just they built a suburban arena downtown. Like the whole thing is just like this massive hulking fortress of a building that's just completely out of scale with downtown and does not integrate with it at all. Like it would have been fine if they built it out where the crush can was. Like it would have fit right in there. But downtown, no, it just doesn't fit.
it is a ugly building.
Yes,
you just go up to it and it's this big brick
thing.
If you didn't see the front facade, you wouldn't know what it is.
Yeah,
and
one of my followers on Twitter from Gatineau, he saw my picture of it and he's just like, is this a picture of a Warriors themed grocery store?
Yeah, easily. Well, it's right beside a Safeway.
Yeah.
And then you got the Safeway
Competition.
guys out there monitoring their parking lot, making sure.
Nobody parks there.
Yeah, and that's the argument a lot of Moose Javians have had, is that the parking around there is just, well, there isn't. It's non-existent.
Yeah. But I mean, I haven't had too much of an issue. You got to walk a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, in Regina, we have a parking lot, and you have to walk probably just as far.
If you don't want to park right in the middle of the parking lot and wait half an hour to get out.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I came into this completely blind. Like this weekend, I have no. Saskatchewan is the province of I've been to all 10 provinces, but Saskatchewan's the province I've spent the least amount of time in until this weekend. I had no idea of the culture or the rivalries or anything like that. And it's like, as friendly as Prince Albert was, Moose Jaw was equally unfriendly, which was interesting.
Wasn't their slogan the friendly city?
Yeah,
It is. I think, or is it still, or it was?
I don't know. It was at one point.
So like the first thing we noticed, and it's not like I'm expecting a welcoming party or anything, don't get me wrong, but yesterday, like, we could barely walk anywhere in that arena without people noticing our jerseys and going, where are you guys from? They wanted to know everything about us.
Right.
We did not get a single comment today about our, and we weren't wearing the same jerseys, but we were still wearing out of town.
Yeah.
A Brampton Battalion jersey is pretty noticeable, I'd say, and not like no one even batted an eye. At least at our jerseys, I think Chris got some eyes batted towards his way.
sure he did.
Disgust.
Yeah.
After the game, there's the usual Moose Javian comments. Like after the game.
After they won.
Yeah, after they won, they still had to throw out their 2 cents, and I come to expect that. And
I didn't hear anyone giving them any crap, during the game.
No,
or anything,
there wasn't
but
any.
Was the drum in your ear?
No, the drum guy wasn't near us this time. I didn't really hear.
Was there a drum?
I
I didn't
don't
see
think there was a
one,
drum
no.
guy tonight, but there's quite a few Pats fans there. So I wasn't the
okay.
only one.
But I mean, first impression of the place, like I walked in and I thought this place looks nice. It felt way bigger. When Chris told me it only seats 4,500, I said there's no way. Like this feels like at least like 6,000 seats. And it's not. Maybe just because the roof is so high, and for whatever reason they had to have that. They got that fog in there, like the ambiance fog, which is
at the
like
start of the
I don't
game. It was
know.
just lingering.
It was lingering the whole time we were there. Like it was just weird to see that for a game
I don't
like
know.
that.
I'd never
in
noticed
October.
it before, but I didn't notice it during the game. I guess I was just used to it.
But there's a lot of those little things that Kevin notices about arenas that I don't. And so, like I said, my first impressions were good. But then, as the game went on, things changed a little bit.
I mean, I'm going to write up this weekend and put it on my website. But I usually think about what I'm going to say for a while before I actually put any pen to paper. But Moose Jaw, I already know the gist of it is basically going to be the experience there is total amateur hour, and that could be really cool. Like in an old school building, like a Prince Albert or a Swift Current or something like that. Like they basically present the game as if it was like the pre-corporate world, like where you know it's just like a bunch of school kids running the show, and they're just doing things in a really old-fashioned way. They're not really trying to make money or trying to like really impress anyone. It's just a hockey game, and like that's cool if you've got a building that supports it, but. Moose Jaw creates the impression that they've got this brand new building and it's beautiful. Like it's a lovely facility, but like we notice like not all the lights are pointed at the ice. Like if you're sitting in row 5, like you've got a massive spotlight in your eye all game. And
both corners, there's two
yeah.
into row 5. Is literally you look this way, there's a light in your eye.
Yeah.
Look this way, light in your eye. That's why the ice is so dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the music keeps playing. I mean, I'm sure all your listeners know
11
this, but
seconds.
11 seconds at one point into play.
There
Never
was a
seen
play,
that before.
The face-off in one zone, the play went all the way down to the other zone, and like a fight for the puck behind the net, and then it got back out in front of the net before the music shut off.
Is that not like a WHL rule
It should
or
be
something?
if it's not.
Yeah, this isn't lacrosse where you play music or basketball. You play music.
Like
during
it's
the-
one thing, like if they do it okay, you can just like slowly turn it down after the puck drops and it kind of lingers out. But like it's like they stand there for 10 seconds watching and then
But-
decide to really slow it.
You think maybe they forgot, but they do it every fucking
I know.
time. Yeah,
I know.
It's the disconnect for me between this brand new, not totally brand new anymore, but like this really new, beautiful facility and like the clowns running it basically is just really weird. Like you when you walk into a building like that, you have a certain expectation of that it's going to be a professional show, and it wasn't. But if you walk into a building that's like any of the ones that we saw this weekend, it would have been I probably would have found it more endearing than anything else. But it's just it was weird.
They certainly win the award for most pixely video board in the CHL.
that one's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For a building that new,
Yeah.
that's like inexcusable.
Yeah, you can excuse of current NPA not having one until recently.
and they did. Yeah, they had pretty bad ones.
They did.
until-
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, we like the Owen Sound in the OHL is a super low roof, and we thought they'll never be able to get a video board, and now they do have one, and it's very clear, and it's just like wow, if they can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And Moose Jaw has a roof that it's like
5 miles high.
it feels like a junior version of Buffalo's arena, and it's just like man, it's a good enough size. It's just it's pixely as hell. Get a new one.
And it's
Yeah.
still got a score clock on it. Like they don't even integrate.
That I don't mind. Like you don't have to have the whole video board thing. You can have a scoreboard. It's just get one that you don't like. It's so pixely. Like trying to watch a replay. It's like watching the Zapruder tape.
And like Kevin was mentioned, like so we go and grab some food, and there's it's dark in there, and it's
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's gotten brighter than it was because I remember I was in there for one game and people at the tables were literally using flashlights to do stuff, and I'm just like, this is like a brand new building. Why are you using flashlights to do your sell your whatever
Yeah,
50/50s or jersey draw? Like, why are you using flashlights? Like, there's a few more lights in there now, but so we roll up and we just order some fries, a little snack, roll over to the concession bar. Well, there's like a $5 lamp from Walmart clamped onto the concession bar so you can see all the condiments.
What the hell you're putting on it?
Yes, like it's so ghetto. Like, yeah, like you said,
Something you would expect to see in a Prince Albert, and you wouldn't even give them shit for it.
yeah. You expect it. Okay, well, they can't run power over here anymore. Power's not accessible over here in Moose Jaw or in PA or Swift Current. But Moose Jaw, it's a brand new building. You can't even light up your condiments. Like, come on.
People sometimes ask me, like, to take this on a broader level, like, what's the best building you've been to? And like you asked me on this podcast, and it's hard to answer because how do you compare the Videotron Center in Quebec City with like Swift Current, right?
Yeah.
But you judge each building on its own merits, and for the merits of a brand new building like Moose Jaw's, it's by far the worst I've ever seen because they're not taking advantage of all the things that a new building should do well.
It is a beautiful building.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Yeah.
If they played their cards right, I don't know if you would put a Memorial Cup in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, but the building itself on its own, I think, could host a Memorial Cup if you did things right.
Yeah.
And it's just there's a lot of things going wrong there, and it's just
Yeah, and then
they got some work to do. It's got potential, and they can turn this around.
And the biggest thing about that is that all of the complaints that we have are fixable. It's not like these are intractable problems. Like you can't really expand the Centennial Civic Center in Swift Current. Like it is what it is. In Moose Jaw, it's all things like game presentation and like the people running the show doing their jobs correctly and all that. Like you could bring in a new owner to completely overhaul the show, and within like a season you could have all these problems fixed.
And as far as like an atmosphere is concerned, like it wasn't obviously a big crowd, and I've heard a lot of things about the Moose Jaw crowds being thin. It was a half decent crowd today. Like they said attendance was 3,100. We kind of said it was more like 25, 27. But the people who were there were a bit engaged, not nearly to the point that the PA crowd was last night, but certainly way more than like the Swift Current crowd was. So again, it's like not trying to crap on the atmosphere of the fans. It's just
So like another ticket. So there's a puck like gets put over the boards. No, not that one. I forgot about that one. So a playing puck got flipped over the glass, and it hits a lady in the head.
Oh.
like side of the head. Oh,
Yeah.
poor lady too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you think, okay, yeah, somebody's going to come check her out. Some staff, right? Wait.
No.
Wait. Not one
She's
person.
bleeding out.
She literally held the puck to her head because it was cold. And it was like, okay, this might.
She was a trooper. She kept
Yeah.
going. Like she was just kept watching.
She
the
didn't
game.
ask for help, but
Using
nobody offered her help.
Using the cold puck as a
Like-
compress.
Yeah.
It went straight off the side of her head and then hit the seat like behind her because the row behind her was empty. And then it fell like right behind her. And we're like, it's behind you. Like
Yeah.
Kevin's like, normally I would go for that, but like, no, she earned it.
When you take a bean from a puck, that's your puck. Like
Yeah.
we were the
Earned
closest next people to that. Like I could have easily gone and grabbed it. It was just sitting on the ground for like 10 seconds. I'm like, this is
man.
that puck. That's that lady's puck. You can have
So,
it.
and then we're looking around. We're looking, is there ushers around? Well, there's a couple on the other side, and they're worried about, not walking down the stairs during play.
Yeah.
And then after the game's over, so Moose Jaw won, so they're going to have, multiple stars of the game. So all the kids run down to the glass to get the prize or the, the giveaway, the stick or stick and giveaways, right? Well, this usher was more worried about the kids touching the glass than people getting hit in the head with the puck. Like every time the kid touched the glass, she was like, "No, stay off the glass, stay off the glass." And then they announce the first star, she starts banging the glass. And I was just like,
on the
Moose Jaw.
opposite side of the rink from us, because we were looking towards the benches.
Yeah.
We were right across from the Moose Jaw tunnel. So right beside their tunnel, there's two ushers down there, and I could see them like they had their arms out, kind of waving them in a way so like don't touch the glass, like they were like the barrier between the kids and the glass. It's
like
just like
that's the
come
biggest
on.
concern they have is kids
But
touching
God
the glass.
forbid someone come and that 50-something-year-old lady getting hit in the head with a
Yeah,
puck.
nobody attended her. No, it's so sad.
And we tried to count afterwards. We're like, how many ushers are there? And it was like, what
Not
we
too
count
many.
like 5, 6 in the whole
Visible.
building. Yeah.
So then walking out after, and the guys like, go home, waste of
yeah.
money. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm spending money in your city. Next
Yeah.
time I won't come because I don't think I'll be going back anytime soon. I'd rather drive to PA to see a game than Moose Jaw. Like I said before, it was baseball. It's been hockey. It's just sad. They're just sad people.
Well, I could have easily gone to this game. And I said, I really don't feel like going to Moose Jaw.
yeah.
And sitting there.
I mean, there are cities that I've been to that, like, I dream about going back to Val-d'Or and Noranda, which is not often you hear people say that, but because they're just mining towns and the towns themselves aren't much. But, like, I loved it there.
Yeah.
We loved Chicoutimi and Baie-Comeau last year. That was a great experience. Rimouski was great. Most of the East Coast is great. There are places in Ontario that are fabulous. And, like, Moose Jaw's, like, it's ticked off the list and I'm never going back.
And the thing is, we've been live tweeting throughout the weekend, and Kevin was mentioning some of these things during the game, the lighting and the sound and the ushers and stuff. And it seems the Moose Javians have taken to the criticism really well on Twitter.
It's the first time I've ever been sassed for just doing the thing that I do out there. Like, I mean, I'm not a big deal. I'm just some douche with a Twitter account and a website. Like, like I've been doing it for 16 years now, but like that doesn't give me any, like, it's just my opinion.
Yeah,
but like
Moose
Jaw's the only people who've gotten testy about how dare you point out that our condiments are lit with a Walmart lamp.
Got to mention, we did go to the site of the crushed can before the game, and they have like a Sobeys liquor store where it was.
Yep.
And they actually like made it look like the crushed can, like from the outside.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like that was kind of cool.
Yeah, they've honored the tradition there.
That was a cool rink.
Yeah.
It was cool in that barn sense. It was, used to watch highlights, so we had this old local sports show at 11 or 10:30, I forget. Yeah. And the camera would be up in the top. You couldn't see the other side of you could barely see the other side of the ice.
Yeah.
There is another crushed can out there. There's a clone in Longueuil, Quebec, where there used to be a Quebec League team called the Chevalier that played there. It's like a south source suburb of Montreal. And so I never saw the crushed can before they tore it down, but I've been to that rink in Longueuil, and it's just weird, man.
Still exists?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ooh. Still there. It's pure concrete, built in the 60s. Like the crushed can was first. The Longueuil was a copy, but
I think this was cinder block.
Yeah, it was really cool though to get to see that, just because it's so different from anything else.
Yeah, I remember those highlights. It was literally you couldn't even see the boards. I don't think on the other side where the cameras were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was the
cool.
same in Quebec.
And we did go to a game there once.
Yeah, we went one time
before they tore it down.
Well, I mean, I'm not like, if I lived in Moose Jaw, I'm sure I'd be happy to have a new building and all that. But it's a sad thing that they tore down. Like that was an icon. Like that was the one Western Hockey League rink people in Ontario could name. Yeah. Like everybody knew the crushed can.
Yeah.
And it's sad that they just tore it down.
And we've been telling them we want to start a thing like, someone in Moose Jaw, start your own damn podcast and talk shit to us, because we're going to keep talking it.
Yeah.
And we hope that rivalry gets a little more heated, and hopefully can win a game against them. Well, we won the one game.
Well, I think Kevin mentioned during the game, this is a team that's been around in 1984 and since 1984. And when was their oldest banner from?
2004. Yeah, they had no banners for the first 20 years and still never won the league or anything like that. And generally speaking, like I don't. It's a weird thing for somebody like in my position to say, but I don't care about sports that much. Like who wins and who loses, who wins the championship. Like I really, really wanted London to win their first OHL title, which it took us 40 years to accomplish. And after that, it's just everything's great. Like if we win or lose, it doesn't affect me that much. But I always like seeing teams that have never won before win. Like I was so happy to see like the past few years from out of the Western Hockey League, that it'd be Seattle and that it'd be Swift Current hasn't won in so long, and then Prince Albert hadn't won in so long, and Moose Jaw, like when they had such a good team last year, I was really pulling for them, and now after having been there, it's like fuck them.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summary.
Yeah, that's a good way to wrap this up.
And thank you to you guys for having us on and hosting us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you to Chris for agreeing to take on somebody that he's never met before. And yes, you can sleep in my house. Let me drive you all around my province.
This is the second time in a year.
Yeah. No, it's good network we have here. I'm glad you guys could come out. And,
obviously, if you ever find yourself in London or Guelph, I'm sure we'll return the favor.
Well, it might actually happen someday. So, all right. Well, let's wrap it up for the week. A couple games coming up here. A quick one on Tuesday, and then the weekend we'll get this podcast out Monday. And thanks guys. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, talking hockey.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for the hospitality.
All right. We'll see you at the rink.